Welcome back. Hours into the government shutting down, and the impacts already being felt across federal agencies nationwide. The Nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office estimates roughly 750,000 federal workers will be furloughed until lawmakers in Washington can come to an agreement on how to keep the government funded. And as tensions escalate on Capitol Hill, President Trump is threatening he could fire many of the furloughed workers, signaling he may slash federal programs he doesn't like.
A lot of good can come down from shutdowns. We can get rid of a lot of things that we didn't want, and they'd be Democrat things, but they want open borders. They want men playing in women's sports. They want transgender for everybody. They never stop. They don't learn. We won an election in a landslide. They just don't learn. So we have no choice. I have to do that for the country.
The shutdown standoff in Washington is now center stage for a bruising political fight with millions of Americans caught in the middle. And here with us now is Chris Doles. He was a federal employee for 8 years as a civil engineer for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and now he is the co-executive director of the Federal Unionist Network and Advocacy Group that represents federal workers. Chris, great to have you here with us. So you were part of the federal government as a federal worker earlier this year at the start of the Trump administration. You were there as DOGE came in, took a hatchet to so many federal positions. What's going through your mind right now as we are just kind of settling into this shutdown with a looming threat of more firings?
Yeah. I mean, this administration has been shutting down the federal government piece by piece all year long. They clearly, and that clip shows it, see this as yet another opportunity to shut down more of the government, not temporarily, but permanently. And so the question to us as federal workers who have a gun to our head in this negotiation saying if Schumer and Jeffries don't cave, they're going to fire more of us, we have a choice to make. Do we take the hostage position and say anything to save us? Or do we recognize that we took an oath to the American people that we are here to serve their interests, and that if we need to suffer a few weeks of a shutdown to preserve the public interest that the federal government is supposed to uphold, you know what? We might have a little bit more free time on our hands to explain to the American people all the things that we do for them and all the ways that this administration has been gutting civil rights protections at HUD. We saw the whistleblowers last week who got fired. Climate research at NASA and the EPA. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and all the things that it does to protect consumers' interests. The NLRB and FLRA are basically defunct organizations. All of the ways in which the federal government protects or is supposed to protect the public and regular, hardworking people, this administration has shown all year long they're committed to shutting all those things down. A little temporary shutdown for a political fight, we're ready.
What are you hearing from your former colleagues? We're talking about some 750,000 workers. 750,000. That's a huge amount of the federal workforce, not all, but that's a lot of people, and they're going to be impacted. Their families are going to be hurt if they are not getting paid. What are they worried about?
We've been hurt all year long, and this is the negotiation tactics of a bully and a wannabe dictator. Let's be very clear. This isn't like, you know, some tough bargaining from a Trump who just wants to draw a hard line to get his position. This is a wannabe dictator, a wannabe strongman, a guy who has glorified every strong leader internationally who has trod over democratic rights of their people. We're looking at a playbook. They're hollowing out the expertise of the civil service. They're punishing dissent in every form that it takes. They're sidelining every independent agency. This is straight out of the playbook of dictators and authoritarians all over the world today and through history. We need Congress to reject the fear tactics, to refuse all bad deals, and to protect the services that the federal government is meant to provide. Because if Trump wins this shutdown, then the American people lose the government that is supposed to protect their interests potentially permanently. The stakes are much higher than the next few weeks.
It sounds like you are not buying the president's argument or the Republican Party's line that this shutdown's the Democrats' fault.
Well, obviously not. Who's been shutting down the government all year long? Whose political movement is founded upon Grover Norquist's words back in the 1990s, who said he doesn't want to kill the federal government. He just wants it to whittle down to the size that he can drown it in the bathtub. These are ideologues who serve nothing but the smallest number of billionaires who have all the wealth in our society who want to repurpose the entire federal government in their interests and make it so that the hardworking people who are struggling paycheck to paycheck, who need the services of Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, the SNAP benefits, all the people who are most vulnerable in our society are the ones who stand to lose the most. And federal workers are ready for this fight, even if they're doing it with a gun to our head. But we're sick of it. They've been pushing us to it, and we're ready to fight Donald Trump because we're not going to let him take our country into this direction any further.
There are federal workers living paycheck to paycheck, right? So, you know, the last government shutdown we mentioned lasted 34 days. That was the longest ever. That's a couple of paychecks. Do federal workers have anywhere to turn to for help?
Look, Congress at the last shutdown passed a bill afterwards saying that all federal workers will get paid retroactively. We'll see whether this administration respects any laws anymore and actually enforces that. But in the meantime, there are resources out there. The Federal Unionist Network, which is my organization, has a page for resources. There are credit unions and community organizations that will give zero-interest loans to people to help, especially in New York and Long Island. Here, you'll see on our website, federalunionists.net, for federal workers who need those resources to make it through the next few weeks. Those are out there. But the real call right now for federal workers, you got some free time because you're not asked to come to work because you're shut out because you're furloughed. It's to actually tell your story, to make it in front of every media camera you can, to organize with your coworkers, to make sure that the public understands the impacts. And the broader public has a role too. SavePublicServices.com is our website for anybody who wants to support federal workers right now. SavePublicServices.com. We need the support of the broader public. We need federal workers to get organized. We'll make it through the short-term shutdown. The question is whether or not we're going to get our government back and whether or not we're going to get, you know, any type of respect for basic working people, or this whole government's for sale for the billionaires.
Chris Doles, I really appreciate you coming in. Thank you for offering your perspective and bringing so much passion to the conversation.